Hello and welcome to Eastern Horizon. This is Malik Ayub Sumbul, and tension between the United States and Iran has been increasing over the last 24 hours, and there are some rhetoric and some other geostrategical and some other moves that shows that there could be some unilateral action from the United States. Many experts even say that the action by the US is imminent. So, how much is the risk, and what could be the repercussions? What would be the reaction from Iran? How the things will unfold in case of the any U.S. action? I have joined by a very senior expert on Middle East, Mr. Professor Shahram Akbarzadeh. He is the director of the Middle East Studies Forum at Deakin University, Australia, and a non-resident senior fellow at the Middle East Council on Global Affairs, Doha. Thank you very much, Shahram, for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Malik.
So my first question is that how you see, what's going on next? Because tension has been quite escalated, and the media hype is also very high. So how you see that what can be expected in the next 24-48 hours?
Well, as you mentioned, tensions are very high, and in many ways, President Trump has put put himself in a corner by claiming and threatening to use force against Iran. Um, 2 weeks ago, he was threatening to attack Iran and punish Iran if the authorities in Iran continue to kill protesters. Of course, the Iranian authorities continued to use brute force to put down protesters, and the US did not intervene. Now, President Trump is saying that the US naval force is in the region, quite close to Iran, and is poised to punish authorities in Iran if they do not sign a nuclear deal. So tensions are very high. And of course, a nuclear deal from Trump's point of view is a total submission by the authorities. He is not suggesting that Iranian authorities should come to the table and discuss what is possible and what's not possible. He is asking for total and unconditional surrender by Iran. And that's something that Iranian authorities have put a red line under. They're not going to submit to coercion and to force, and have threatened to use force if they are attacked. So, in a way, Trump has put himself in a corner where his only option really is to use force. And the authorities in Iran are very likely to respond in kind because they see a potential US attack as an existential threat, which they cannot ignore.
Mhm. So, that this is an action under threat to sign a nuclear deal. And in the previous war, we saw that Israel was the main player, and Iran responded at that time and reacted. So, in now, if any action comes by the US, so how much could be risk for the other Middle Eastern countries? Because we saw a lot of Middle Eastern countries are trying to distance from US in this situation, and they are not allowing to use any of the bases or their space. So who has more risk in all this situation?
Well, absolutely right. I think the countries in the region rightly see the escalation of tension as extremely dangerous for their interests because any conflict in the region, especially in the Persian Gulf, is going to affect the flow of oil from the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has threatened in the past to close down the Strait of Hormuz if attacked. And if that happens, 20% of global oil that comes from the Gulf, from Persian Gulf, will is in danger of being stopped. So that's going to affect the economies of the Persian Gulf, and it's going to affect the global economy. So there's plenty at stake. That is why Saudi Arabia, Oman, and many other states in the region have urged the United States to reconsider the military option. Let's keep in mind that last year, when Israel and the United States attacked Iran, Iran responded in kind. Iran managed to hit Israel and conducted perhaps a symbolic attack on a US base in Qatar. It was not big enough to cause casualties, but it was there to send a message to the US that Iran has the capability to retaliate. If we have another case of US attack on Iran, and if this attack targets Iranian authorities, because Trump has already noted that he knows where the supreme leader lives, and people are talking in Washington about decapitating the Iranian regime. So if such attack actually takes place, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, IRGC, is very likely to step in, take charge, and then retaliate without any hindrance. This would not be a measured response. It's very likely to be an all-out response to US assets in the Persian Gulf, in many countries in the region, in Kuwait, in Qatar, in UAE. So the whole region can really suffer from the conflict.
So last time the United States and even Donald Trump acknowledged this thing very loudly, that the US has taken a very big action against and destroyed all the nuclear sites. And at that time even, he credited that this was a very successful operation. So after claiming to be a very successful operation, now again, why US needs again that there is a nuclear problem again, and in just few days again the Iran has achieved that kind of the uranium enrichment. So do you think that this is something really about the nuclear, or there are some other intention of United States behind this conflict and continuous threatening to Iran?
Very good question. I think we have to start by saying that President Trump likes grandiose and bombastic statements, and it's hard to take him seriously. We also know that the Iranian authorities have a commitment to renewing and rebuilding their nuclear program. They managed to hide the enriched uranium before the American attack, so they still have possession of enriched uranium. And I can only assume, because we don't really know, they don't provide that kind of intelligence for public consumption. So we can only guess that given the commitment of Iran and given its drive to rebuild its nuclear program, that they have moved forward in that direction. How much progress they have made, we don't know. So ask is quite pertinent. What is President Trump trying to achieve? Is it just about the nuclear program? Is it about regime change in Iran? What's the role of Israel in all of this? I think President Trump himself is probably in two minds. One day he will focus on the nuclear program. Next day, if he's talking to Prime Minister Netanyahu in Israel, he will insist on regime change in Iran. So the goalposts in the United States, in Trump's thinking, keeps moving, which makes our analysis and prediction of the future somewhat fraught.
So where you see all this in this situation right now, Israel, the role of Israel, and do you think that this will be a unilateral action by the US and only US, or Israel will be an ally in this and take part in this operation, if there is any kind of the action taken by the US?
Right. So I think if the United States actually proceeds with its plan of decapitating the regime in Iran, it's very likely that Israel will also join in. Israeli leadership, Netanyahu, has been very clear that they seek regime change, and they have been asking for regime change for years now. Last year in June, when they attacked Iran, they urged the population to rise up against the regime. So there is a possibility that Israel will also step in and join the US attack. But I am somewhat hopeful that there's a chance that the lobbying and the pressure from regional powers, from Saudi Arabia, from Qatar, from Oman, many other states in the region who can see the immense danger of another conflict. So their lobbying could bring us back from the brink and perhaps convince President Trump that disruption in the region, anarchy in the region, is going to also affect US interests, because US economy will also suffer if oil prices go up. President Trump has been trying to bring the oil prices down. War with Iran will do the reverse. So there is hope that cooler heads will prevail, but it is very hard to tell.
Thank you very much, Professor Shahram Akbarzadeh. I really appreciate your insight. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.